The educational initiatives, such as the one joining Wenzhou University and Kean University, can have the same kind of life-changing impact on our bilateral relations for the next generation as the Nixon trip did for the generation that is leading our two countries today.
刘大使说，法拉奇校长选准了对象，我完全同意这个观点。温州是一个了不得的地方，温州人缺的不是权。温州人缺的是教育，但是你们像一场及时雨，你们的话呢，在那里建一所学校，正是温州人求之不得的。
Being from New Jersey and going all the way across the world to China was amazing. Sometimes I think about it and it's like, did I really do that? To travel all the way across the world was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I'm very grateful. I'm really proud of Kean University for such an experience.
the educational initiatives, such as the one joining Wenzhou University and Kean University, can have the same kind of life-changing impact on our bilateral relations for the next generation as the Nixon trip did for the generation that is leading our two countries today.
刘大使说，法拉奇校长选准了对象，我完全同意这个观点。温州是一个了不得的地方，温州人缺的不是权，温州人缺的是教育。但是你们像一场及时雨，你们的话呢，在那里建一所学校，正是温州人求之不得的。
Being from New Jersey and going all the way across the world to China was amazing. Sometimes I think about it and it's like, did I really do that? To travel all the way across the world was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I'm very grateful. I'm really proud of Kean University for such an experience.
most of your majors, what will be teachers or secondary?
I would say it's 40% primary and secondary, and the rest are people who are English majors for wanting to do PR, they want to go to law school, whatever. They become psychology. Because we have the lowest. We're about to rate. We're about to rate the teachers. Yeah.
Most schools are most of the schools are going to Stanford University. Straight mapping usually strong.
Yeah, that's very much the same. Well, that's because they increase this. I'll tell you. Right.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Because they don't want to have their care.
Yeah. And I think it's just because I don't feel it. Hey, Jamie.
He wants control. I'm sure we're not going to. It's not budget, it's control.
A lot of slides there. Let me see if you have any.
Here's what it is. It's the Board of Trustees and the study.
Give it a run, let him state senator. He is always one.
Come on, you gotta sit in front. Gotta use you as an example again.
Oh, really?
How are you? That was cool in the other one. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Are we is it nap time? No, we're not going to have nap time. We're going to learn about emotional intelligence. Before we get started, how many folks here are faculty? Okay, good. And how many here are administration? Okay, and how many are students or student workers? Okay, great. Well, my name is Dr. Yvonne Catino. I work in human resources, and I'm responsible for performance management, discipline, training and development, or learning and development. So we're here today to talk about one of my favorite topics, emotional intelligence. We have 3 objectives that I want to achieve: defining EQ, and we're going to define it on a broad level. Describing the relationship between EQ and job performance. And then lastly, identify some behaviors and emotions, lost my train of thought there. Identify behavior and emotions that could potentially impact your performance. Should we get started? All right. EQ. How many of you have heard of emotional intelligence? Wow. Okay. Somebody shout out for me what your definition of EQ is. Not what's up there, but what you know EQ as. Anybody? How you handle a situation, okay.
Managing your own emotions and the ability to manage people around you.
Very good, yep. And there's another component. Stella.
A lot about the self-awareness piece, so if you are upset, why, what's the root of it, breaking it down.
Absolutely. So you can prevent problems in the future. Up here, this is the high-level definition of EQ. It's basically a combination of what everybody just said. Understanding yourself through self-awareness, understanding others by asking questions, using empathy, all these other tools we're going to talk about, as well as being effective in your job. How many here have students who sometimes come to them in tears? Right? What if you are maybe a little on the stoic side? How's that student going to react? Might cry more to get a reaction out of you. So something you can learn is to empathize with the student by showing a certain kind of emotion to get them to calm down and address an issue. Now, EQ is divided into two areas, as evidenced by this chart. There's personal competence, which is all about you. Then there's the social competence, which is all about everybody else. And we're going to go through this by breaking down these competencies. So self-awareness, we pretty much all have a good idea of what we're good at and what we're not good at. Would you say that's accurate? Why is that not accurate?
Because it's difficult to know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
If you're truly honest with yourself,
Well, yes.
and that's the important thing, is you have to be truly honest with yourself and your emotions as you encounter these situations. Self-management, trustworthiness, responsibility, adaptability. How many of you have folks, employees, or students who, I love change.
Nobody.
Love change. I'm a champion of change. And let's say you need to move their desk. What? Why are you moving my desk? I like my desk here. But there's no reason to move my desk. Well, there might be an operational need to move the desk, like building a new wall or knocking out a wall. So how do you address that employee who thinks they might be really good at adaptability, but they may not be? The social competence, empathy, awareness of other feelings and concerns, Mr. Stoic or Miss Stoic. Being aware of your impression on other people. By being stoic, are you really helping that student helping that student in solving their problem? Yes, no?
No.
And why not?
Because you don't understand it from their point of view.
Exactly. So I'm going to go over a couple of tools called empathic communication to help you maybe break out of that norm or that style. And then lastly, relationship management. If you're agile enough and self-aware enough, you can shift your emotions back and forth in situations very quickly. So what does use emotion entail? Oops. Let me get over there. When somebody says you need to use emotion, it's not about being touchy-feely. It's not about divulging every feeling. You know, the TMI, too much information. That's not emotional intelligence at all. It's having the capacity to monitor your own, use your own emotions, to be an effective person at work, whether you're a supervisor or a direct report. Now, I've put up some competencies up here that are related to the self portion, which is the top part, the self-management, self-regulation, and self-awareness. or some people call it self-management. I'm not going to go through these because they're part of your packet, but I wanted to just highlight that you have those available. I'm sorry? They ran out? Okay. Oh, there might be some more over there? Okay. Now, EQ actually started around the 80s with Daniel Goleman out of Harvard. And it was always thought that intelligence was the marker of success. Intelligence was what was required for you to be an effective supervisor or an effective direct report. Come to find out, that's really maybe not the case. In the 90s, it was all about lean engineering or re-engineering, Six Sigma, black belt, making everything lean. It was all about results, 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 results. Disregard for the emotions. And here we are in the 21st century, and we're finding out, are results important? Yep. Is your IQ important? Yep. But how you get your results is just as important to you being effective. And that means emotions are the same as soft skills. Even technical people need to have an understanding of emotional intelligence for them to be effective in their jobs. So up here I put this chart, the differences between EQ and IQ. And I'm not going to go line by line through it, but you can see that you can have a genius level IQ, but if you can't communicate with other faculty effectively, you can't communicate with your dean, what's that say about you as a team member, committee member? Any thoughts so far? No? Okay. So, we've gone through the definition, high level. Now we're going to talk about how EQ affects your performance. As I mentioned earlier, Daniel Goleman, he's considered the founder of EQ, even though there's some research prior to him. No longer are we being evaluated on just delivering results. If I'm having to bully, I'm going to use D here. If I have to bully D to get reports from her, am I being effective? Nope. If I'm having to, I'll take Sam up there. If I have to chastise Sam every time I get a report that has spelling errors in it, am I being effective? No, not. We're going to talk about how to manage those situations. EQ in particular, as you become more proficient at identifying the areas where you might have weaknesses, and you start building on those, it'll increase your productivity, your personal productivity, team cohesion, employee engagement, communication, navigating change. All of these right here are components of your day-to-day work. So if you increase these skills or variables, your productivity is going to go up, your reputation is going to go up. I really want to work with that person. I want to be on that project. I want to be on that team. It becomes inspirational. So some new numbers. This came out in early 2016. 90% of top performers have high EQ. EQ is responsible for 58% of your job performance now. And people with high EQ make $29,000 more on average. Now, granted, these numbers are based off corporate numbers, corporate surveys. But if you want to be considered a top performer, I'd want to master my EQ.
How do you measure that?
There is an assessment at the back of your packet, but we're going to get to that. All right. So early emotional intelligence focused on these areas of the self, as was identified early in the presentation. These were identified as components for others. Where we start to have hiccups, behavioral hiccups, performance issues, is right in here. And it's usually because you think you're great at stress management. I hear somebody laughing, right? Great at stress management, and your peer members are like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's really, I think we need to hold up the mirror. Some folks think, I am a glass half full person. Maybe not. Maybe every time you say, well, I wouldn't do it that way. Could be something as subtle and simple as that can turn off your direct reports. Boy, every time I go to talk to her, that person is negative. But meanwhile, I'm thinking, I'm giving great advice. I am just the glass half full person. This is the tension area at work. So, part of understanding emotions is being able to identify triggers. So, I'm having a bad day at work. I tell my team, I'm feeling irritable today. I'm just letting you know. It's not you. Could be irritable for some other reason. They don't need to know. But they at least know that if I perchance snap at them, it's not them. What happens when you identify that emotion correctly and you make your team aware of it or another person aware of it?
They may become a little more sensitive to you as well. They know you're not in a good mood today.
And that's a possibility. And that's a possibility, but there's also another possibility.
I've had it work really well. One semester I was teaching a lot of classes and I was sometimes overwhelmed. And I just came in and I told my students that it was just one of those days where I was just kind of at my limit, don't take anything personally. And it was fine.
You actually become aware of a specific emotion within you, and then you can deal with it. Had you not dealt with that emotion and you went into that class and you maybe snapped at the students, not intentionally, but that frustration may have just come out that way, I don't want to take that teacher. Or, go ahead, Stella.
We're also hardwired to overanalyze too. Like, what did they really mean by that text message? Why didn't they respond to my email? They didn't say good morning. Is it because of something I did? It also tells the other person and gives them permission to not overanalyze. It's not them. It's
Yep.
something else.
And also when you do that, you don't spend half the day wondering, was she mad because I didn't do that report? Or was she mad because I misspelled something? You don't waste all that energy. You can focus your energy on being more productive. Now, also when you understand emotions, they impact psychological and physiological states within you. You're having a bad day at work, you come home, dishes aren't done, dog had an accident, the hot water heater blew, your basement's flooded. Almost sounds like a country song. But those days happen sometimes. How do you think a normal person, if you had all those things happen, and then you had to go and teach at night? What's that impression that you might give your students? Or your direct reports? Exhaustion? Exasperation? Being aware of these, I've just highlighted some families here. But for example, anger, fury, annoyance, frustration, irritation. People who have IQ, high EQ, can very precisely pinpoint exactly what they're feeling at that moment. And it takes practice to do that. Because how many times have you heard people say, I'm so angry? Or, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Are you happy? Are you joyful? Are you ecstatic? Do you see a benefit in being able to pinpoint emotions? Stella? Yes. Oh, I see somebody in the back. Mm-hmm. So what I think I'm hearing you say is that you can access higher level emotions, and by doing that you facilitate personal growth. Okay, spot on. So how does all this information relate to job success? Outside of making an additional $29,000 and being rated as a top performer? Well, remember that little section I said about the hiccup area? These are some of the things that can happen. The more hiccups you have, your career can plateau or drop. The more complex your position is, the more you need to be able to understand and decipher emotions, not just of yourself, but of your staff. Okay. Familiar characteristics. I've built this chart to separate some of the terms that have been used when I'm coaching other people on emotional intelligence. He is so bossy. Every single time I try to tell him something, he says this, 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 and this. And I didn't do this, 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 and this. Okay. Could the boss have been maybe assertive and said, as a suggestion, or as an idea, you might want to think about doing it this way? Is that a more open approach than, I need you to do it this way, exactly this way, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How you frame your approach to the emotion that you're experiencing at the moment can have a positive or negative effect on your direct reports. Do you recognize any of these in yourself? On the low side, on the high side? On both, exactly. We're going to get to the test in a little bit. And as part of that test and part of the presentation, we're going to go over tools and techniques that you can use to enhance your EQ or raise your EQ in certain areas. Okay. Back to emotions, though. I call it the emotional bank account. I have direct reports. How many people here have direct reports? Okay. All right. Does anybody know what the magic ratio is? Ever hear of it?
5-1.
Oh, you're killing me. It is 5 to 1. For every 5 positives, it takes 1 negative to lose. It's the magic ratio. So if you want someone to keep doing something they're doing well, you're going to continually to praise them, which will boost their self-esteem, and they'll want to do it more. A lot of times people look at this and they go, it can't be 5 to 1. It's 5 to 1. Mark Twain once said, I could live on a compliment for 2 months. And I have personally witnessed that here at Kane, where you give someone praise, genuine praise, you can see their face light up. They noticed. It resonates with them. That emotion will take them through the next couple of days. Okay. So, taming the emotions, control or be controlled. I remember early in my career, very early in my career in HR, people would come up to me, I have a problem with X, Y, and Z, and I would just want to hit my head on a block. It's so obvious to me, you need to do this, this, and this. And in your head you're saying it, why is this person not getting this? Is that helping the person any? Do you think that feeling and emotion and thought in my head is not coming out to that person some way? They will feel it and sense it. So you need to, once or if you experience those thoughts and those emotions as they come out, you have to change the way you think about that event or that person that's sitting in front of you. Okay, here's the fun stuff. Okay. Do you want to do the test first? Or do you want to go over these tips and tricks first? You have an option. How many want to do the test first? Okay. So the test is at the back of the packet. You didn't get one? Let me see if I can get you one. Oh, you have an extra. You're missing one too? Okay. Let me go get you one. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm missing a couple. You want to come on in? This lady down here needs one. And then Jack, this lady needs one. Does anybody else need one? Oh, 2 more. Now you need to be honest with yourself when you're answering these questions. If you have to be honest with yourself. Yes, you need to be honest with yourself. And for those who are at Ocean, I can send the packet over to whoever wants it. You can email me at ycatino, INO@kane.edu. Didn't think you were going to have a test, did you? I'm sorry, math is involved. I do allow cell phone calculators. Yes. So a question came up. There's a gentleman who's ready to calculate his points, and you add up the points down each column for each section, and then you add it also across. So it's down and then across.
Won't it always be the same number?
You'll see. Question? So on the back side of the test, on page 2, once you get all done, there's, okay. This is the scoring. It says scoring assessment. But then at the top of the assessment, on page 1, right at the top, it tells you how to score. Wait a minute. Or is it at the bottom? I can't see. Sorry. I can't see. There it is. It's at the bottom of page 2 is the scoring. That's how you score the points down. And then for your total points, it's on a whole separate page.